Today I'm talking about Greek mythology through the Zodiac. So I'm Emily Kalcher. I am an astrologer, intuitive tarot card reader, and moon lover. And I was struggling with chronic pain from inflammatory bowel disease. Then I found yoga and the lunar cycle, and then it was, oh, I'm hooked on the lunar cycle. Now, what can I do with this? And then I attended a webinar from someone. I believe it's Yasmin Boland. And then it's just like, oh, well, how can I actually do something like this myself? And then came the pandemic, time to start studying, time to start learning. And eventually I completed Deborah Silverman School of Applied Astrology. And then later I literally just finished the London School of Astrology as well. And now I love to help people to tap into their own innate gifts and work through any struggles and insecurities they might have to balance duality and make transformative choices via looking at their chart, basically. And astrology is that beautiful guide that we can all use to tap into what we've got and where we want to be and have a discussion together. So I'm calling it a kind of heart-to-heart using astrology, basically. So that's a little bit about me. So the luminaries are the sun and the moon because they give light to us. But so what have I said about the sun? Yeah, the active essence of life or life force, energy, and everything revolves around the sun. In our charts, it's our personality or our ego. It's the essence of what makes us us. So when we think of sun signs, it's actually what people call the zodiac sign is actually technically called the sun sign. So that is what we're born under, the sun sign. That's our keywords are leadership, authority, consciousness, vitality. And some people see that as like the father of the zodiac. And it rules the sign Leo. So the sun in Greek mythology then, that was Apollo. So Apollo, the son of Zeus, Zeus with Jupiter, but we'll go on to a bit of that later. So Apollo was the god of light, and I've written a few other things here. Mathematics, music, medicine, and prophecy were all associated with Apollo. So I've got a lovely book that's been helping me with writing this presentation, which looks at basically astrology and mythology as well. And so Apollo, this is just a quote from that lovely book of mine then. Apollo did battle with the serpent, slew it, and set up his shrine. The priestess known as Pythoness later had her seat, and people from all stations of life came from throughout the ancient world to ask questions of the Delphic oracle. The Apollo became associated with the laws that were handed down from Delphi, so from that Pythoness oracle, basically. So the moon is another luminary, but the moon receives the sun's light, so that's how we see the moon. Your personal moon will fall in a sign in the zodiac, and that sign flavors your feelings, your subconscious world. It's also associated with digestion of food based on your emotional realm, so what you need to feel comfortable. And it also nourishes and soothes you in times of stress, sign of Cancer in the zodiac. So then for Greek mythology wise, we've got Artemis. I'd found that actually they were saying that nobody could actually fully agree on who was the main lunar goddess. So they'd talked about lots of different ones. So this is a quote I'd found to describe some of the discussion as to who was the main lunar goddess, if there was one. Just check the chat just in case. Oh, good, you can still hear me, thank you. So the lunar goddess that they talk about most was Artemis, but I will read the quote out just so that you know some of the discussion that I was reading. So the so-called moon goddess of the Greeks was Selene, who seldom appears in myths. The witch goddess Hecate, a symbol of the waning moon. The classical goddess most associated with the moon is Artemis. The Greeks regarded her as the lady of wild beasts rather than essentially a lunar goddess. But Artemis, or the Roman equivalent Diana, who was later in a Latin equivalent, they represent the nymph or maiden phase of the lunar cycle. So Artemis was a young woman's goddess, not yet a mother, and her bow is a symbol of the crescent moon. So Artemis is actually the twin sister of Apollo, born to Zeus and Leto. So yeah, there was just a discussion that basically said that a lot of Greek goddesses had lunar lunar representatives as well to each part of them. So then when you look at, well, who was the one main Greek lunar goddess, it was very hard for them to say. So that's why there was a big discussion. But I will move on. Mercury is the planet of intellect, communication, speaking, listening, writing, reading, and learning, but also associated with trade, creative thinking, and quick wit. You'll see a little bit why when we look at the Greek god. So keywords for Mercury: articulate, link, negotiate, analyze, and Mercury rules the signs of Gemini and Virgo, which are seen typically as the intellectual signs of the zodiac. So if you hadn't guessed, it's Hermes, the Greek god associated with Mercury. Hermes is that winged messenger, known for tricks and things as well. He channels the mind. The god Hermes could move freely between the underworld, the earth, and Mount Olympus. No other deity could. Thus it is with the human mind and its capacity to travel anywhere, its limits being entirely of its own making. So yes, basically Hermes could travel into the underworld, as well as being out in the sky or above. When we think of Hermes as well, we often see a caduceus in his hand. I mean, originally there was an olive branch depicted with lots of garlands and things entwined, but then there was this story of snakes, and he tried to stop some snakes from attacking each other by throwing that olive branch, and that's why when we see that caduceus in the hand when symbolizing Hermes, because it's those two snakes wrapped around the branch. That's the symbolism there. Yeah. And also it represents the speed and agility and quick thinking that Hermes had. Venus then. Venus is that planet of love and abundance, values, romance, and attraction. She's also associated with popularity, tastes, and attitudes to women or feminine stereotypes. And keywords for Venus are unite, harmonize, persuade. So we think a lot about values and esteem and lots of things like that when it comes to Venus as well. And Venus rules Taurus and Libra, which are known as the relational signs. Taurus links to the sensations of the body, and Libra actively deals with the relationships of all kinds. So Venus then was Aphrodite. Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty. She is the daughter of Cronus. The creative seed of the primal sky god was scattered throughout heaven and earth. Some of it fell into the ocean and gave birth to Venus, whom the Greeks knew as Aphrodite, the goddess of love. So Mars is that planet of expenditure of energy, assertiveness, passion, drive, determination, independence, and competition. So keywords are strives, fights, competes, wins, achieves. It can also be associated with our attitude to male figures or masculine energy. So Mars rules Aries and Scorpio, seen as the adventurous planets. Aries is fiery, impulsive, and initiatory. So it's those sort of go-getters, the fire starters. and leaders. Scorpio needs intensity, things that are out of plain sight, a little bit of mystery and darkness and things that all that like that. And in the mystery and taboo and sexuality and all those things. So then Eros was that association with Mars. Eros, the god of war, son of Zeus and Hera. So Eros is depicted with a helmet and a spear, or sometimes with a torch due to passion, the destructive qualities, but he was also a ferocious leader in battle, so he was well respected. Eros was the legitimate son of Zeus, Jupiter, and Hera, which is Juno, an asteroid. Though it was said that both parents hated him, he delighted in battle and violence for its own sake. And then we come to Jupiter, the planet of expansion, faith, joy, fulfillment, and luck. So keywords: expands, broadens, increases, and opens up. Jupiter rules Sagittarius and Pisces, seen as the spiritual planets. Because, well, Jupiter, you think of things that are larger than life, it's philosophies and quest for meaning and all those things, as well as, well, expanding our spiritual world, I guess. Yeah, so Sagittarius is fiery, larger than life, and loves to travel. Pisces is the dreamer and goes through spiritual, poetic, and/or fantasy adventures. So then Jupiter was Zeus. Zeus was the Greek god of thunder and the sky. He was the first god of Mount Olympus, king of the gods. And he was the last son of Cronus and Rhea, and avoided being swallowed by his father, Cronus. But he was also married to his sister, Hera, goddess of marriage and monogamy. So he controlled lightning, could use it as a weapon, and along with Hades, which is Pluto, and Poseidon, Neptune, Zeus controlled rule of the underworld. Oh, rule of the world, sorry. So then we have a quote here. Let us remember Zeus's role in bestowing immortality upon those whom he deemed worthy. Chiron was freed from his suffering and placed in the heavens as Sagittarius, as a reward for his services to mankind. And Zeus's word eventually freed Persephone from Hades, Pluto, although he had sanctioned the action of adoption that sealed her fate in the first place. Kronos too was banished to Tartarus by Zeus for his unkindly acts. Well, swallowing your children, that's not particularly kind, is it? And Zeus had the power and authority as sovereign ruler to reward one and bestow even immortality upon another. So Saturn is the planet of hard work, life lessons, destiny, change, fear, longevity, commitment, limits, discipline. It's seen as, well, I like to say grandfather time, or old man of the zodiac, sort of a headmaster figure. So keywords are limits, controls, fortifies, and delays. And Saturn rules Capricorn and Aquarius, seen as wise planets within the zodiac, because Capricorn wisely climbs the path less travelled in earthly pursuits or business to help people with their first steps. So where they lead, others can follow, but without having to do all the hard graft so much, and rocky terrains. Aquarius wisely takes unusual or unique paths in technology, science, or future-based pursuits, and translates these for communities and holding space as they catch up with him. So Saturn, yeah, Saturn is Cronus. And Cronus was one of the 7 Titans, son of Uranus, and Gaia, Mother Earth. He married his sister, Rhea, as was convinced his children would overthrow him, so he swallowed them. The ancient Greek writers derived the name Kronos from, well, the chronos spelled differently, but meaning time. Kronos was a child of Uranus, father sky, and Gaia, mother earth. When Uranus became tyrannical and despotic, Gaia persuaded Kronos to overthrow his father. Kronos lay in wait for Uranus and castrated him with a sickle. Thus he became king of the gods. Delightful, aren't they? These Greek gods.